The night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Most operators spent their time watching endless streams of data from space, looking for anything unusual. Tonight was different. Jack Morgan sat up straight in his chair as his screen lit up with strange patterns. At first, he thought it was just another space rock sending back radar echoes, but the signal kept repeating in a clear pattern. His hand shook as he realized what he was seeing. "Sir," he called out to his supervisor, "I think you need to see this." Station Chief Robert Wilson hurried over, his coffee cup still steaming. He leaned over Jack's shoulder, watching the strange pulses dance across the screen. His eyes widened as he recognized the mathematical sequence. It was too perfect to be natural. "How far out?" Wilson asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Initial readings show it's coming from the Kuiper Belt, sir. About 40 astronomical units from Earth." Wilson grabbed his secure phone and dialed a number he never thought he'd use. Within minutes, the quiet station turned into a buzz of activity as more personnel poured in. 3 hours later, Captain Tom Wells woke up to his phone ringing. He had been the top fighter pilot in the Air Force for the past decade, known for doing the impossible. As he listened to the voice on the other end, his heart began to race. "We need you at Mission Control immediately," the voice said. "First contact protocol is in effect." Tom dressed quickly, his mind racing. He had trained for this, but nobody really expected it to happen. The drive to Mission Control was a blur of streetlights and empty roads. When he arrived, the room was packed with military officers, scientists, and government officials. On the main screen, a decoded message played on loop. "This is Research Vessel Horizon, requesting immediate assistance. Life support failing. 6 crew members aboard. Hostile forces in pursuit. Please help." The message repeated in perfect English, translated by their ship's computer. Below it, more data streamed in, showing the ship's location and status. Dr. Anna Lee, the head of xenolinguistics, explained the situation. "They're trapped in orbit around a dwarf planet. Their main engine is dead, and they're losing power. Based on their transmissions, they have maybe 48 hours of life support left." General Marquez stepped forward. "Captain Wells, we called you because you're the only pilot qualified to fly the XF-88 Starweaver. It's our only ship that might reach them in time." Tom looked at the data scrolling across the screens. The alien ship was incredibly far away, farther than any human had ever traveled. The Starweaver was fast, but it had never been tested at these distances. "The ship isn't ready for deep space," one of the engineers protested. "We haven't finished all the safety protocols." "Those aliens don't have time for safety protocols," Tom replied, studying the ship's trajectory. "How soon can we launch?" The room fell silent. General Hayes looked at his watch. "If we start prep now, we can have you in the air in 3 hours." More data came in from the alien ship. Their orbit was deteriorating faster than expected. Without help, they would either freeze to death when their power failed or burn up in the dwarf planet's atmosphere. Tom walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, 6 beings from another world were about to die unless he tried something impossible. He turned back to the room full of waiting faces. "Tell the ground crew to fuel up the Starweaver," he said. "I need every bit of data we have on the Kuiper Belt region, and I want direct communication with that alien ship as soon as possible." As everyone rushed to prepare for the mission, Tom felt the familiar calm that came before every dangerous flight. He didn't know what these aliens looked like or why they were running from hostile forces, but none of that mattered. They needed help, and he was going to try to save them. Humanity's first real contact with alien life wouldn't be a grand meeting of civilizations. Instead, it would be what humans did best, trying to help someone in trouble, no matter who they were or where they came from. The launch pad lit up like daylight as crews prepared the XF-88 Starweaver for its emergency mission. Tom Wells stood in the briefing room, surrounded by screens showing different parts of the rescue plan. His flight suit was already on, its experimental systems humming quietly. "This is madness," Admiral Porter said, pacing the room. "We're risking our most advanced ship and our best pilot on aliens we know nothing about. It could be a trap." General Hayes stepped forward, holding up a tablet showing the latest transmission. "With all due respect, sir, I've spent the last 2 hours talking to their commander. They call themselves the Research Institute, and their leader is Commander Rax. They're scientists, not warriors." A new voice crackled through the room's speakers. It was clear but had an odd musical quality to it. "Captain Wells, this is Commander Rax. We're losing power faster than expected. Our emergency batteries are failing." Tom leaned toward the microphone. "I hear you, Commander. Tell me about these hostile ships following you." There was a pause before Rax answered. "Pirates. They want our quantum drive research. We discovered something that could change space travel forever. They followed us from our home system." The room grew quiet. Dr. Lee, who had been studying the aliens' language patterns, spoke up. "They're telling the truth. Their stress patterns match their words." Tom walked to the window, watching the ground crew finish loading the Starweaver. The ship looked like a cross between a fighter jet and a space shuttle, its black surface covered in experimental heat shields. "How many pirates?" he asked. "3 ships," Rax replied. "Heavily armed. They're staying back, waiting for our power to fail. They want our research intact." General Hayes brought up a holographic map of the solar system. "The Starweaver has enough fuel for the journey, but it'll be tight. We've never tested the engines at this distance." Tom studied the map, his mind already planning the route. "What about the ship's weapons?" 2 plasma cannons and a railgun," the chief engineer said. "But they're not tested in deep space conditions. We don't even know if alien shields can stop them." The Admiral finally stopped pacing. "Wells, if you do this, you'll be on your own out there. No backup, no rescue if something goes wrong. Are you sure about this?" Tom smiled slightly. "Sir, 6 people are about to die if we don't try. And if those pirates get whatever quantum technology they're after, Earth could be in danger. I'm not seeing much of a choice here." Through the speakers, they could hear warning alarms from the alien ship. Commander Rax's voice came back, more urgent now. "Our orbit is failing. We have maybe 30 hours left." Tom straightened up. "Then we better stop wasting time. General, I need launch clearance." The room erupted in activity. As Tom walked toward the door, Dr. Lee caught up with him. "Captain, we've loaded everything we know about their language and technology into the Starweaver's computer. Good luck." The walk to the launch pad felt longer than usual. The night air was cool, and stars filled the clear sky. Tom thought about how one of those dots of light might be the alien's home sun. As he climbed into the cockpit, ground control began the countdown. The Starweaver's systems came online one by one, its advanced AI connecting with his flight suit. "Mission control to Starweaver," General Hayes's voice came through clearly. "You have full authorization to launch. Bring them home, Captain." Tom took a deep breath as the engines powered up. The ship hummed with energy, ready to attempt something no human craft had ever done before. "Starweaver to mission control," he replied. "Beginning launch sequence. Tell Commander Rax help is on the way." The engines roared to life, and the Starweaver shot upward into the night sky. As Earth fell away below him, Tom knew he was flying into history. Whether he would survive to read about it was another question entirely. The Starweaver crossed the orbit of Mars in record time. Tom Wells watched the red planet slip past on his left, already too small to see clearly. No human had ever traveled this far, this fast before. "Starweaver to mission control," he said, checking his instruments. "All systems running at 98%, starting the second engine burn." The reply from Earth took several minutes to reach him now. "Copy that, Starweaver. Be advised, we're detecting unusual solar activity ahead." Tom looked at his radar screen. The space between him and the alien ship was filling with radiation from a solar storm. The Starweaver's shields weren't designed for this kind of punishment. "Commander Rax, are you receiving?" Tom called out to the alien ship. The reply came through with static. "Yes, Captain Wells. Our sensors show the radiation storm. It's much worse than usual. The pirates must have waited for this. They know we can't move." Tom studied the 3D map showing the storm's pattern. The normal route would be to go around it, but that would take too much time. The aliens didn't have that long. "Commander, I need your help," Tom said, his hands moving across the controls. "Your people must know more about these storms than we do. How do they affect your ships?" There was a pause before Rax answered. "We usually avoid them completely. But there's an old theory. The storm's magnetic fields create paths of lower resistance, like rivers in space, if you could find one." Tom smiled. "Rivers in space. I can work with that." He turned the Starweaver's sensors to maximum power, looking for patterns in the chaos ahead. The ship's AI highlighted several flowing streams of particles, just like Rax described. They twisted through the storm like glowing roads. If he was careful, he might be able to ride them through. "Mission Control, I'm going to try something," Tom reported. "Going to use the storm to boost our speed." "Negative. Starweaver." General Hayes's voice crackled through. "The radiation levels are too high. It could fry your systems." But Tom had already made his decision. He pushed the Starweaver forward, aiming for the brightest energy stream. The ship shuddered as it entered the storm. Warning lights flashed across his console. The radiation was interfering with some systems, but the main engines kept running. Tom felt like he was riding rapids in space, using small bursts from his maneuvering thrusters to stay in the safe zones. "Incredible," Rax's voice came through. "You're actually doing it. Our scientists theorized about this technique, but we never tried it." The Starweaver shot through the storm at speeds its designers never imagined possible. Tom's flight suit automatically tightened to help him handle the G-forces. Through the cockpit window, space itself seemed to blur. "Approaching your position," Tom reported, his voice trained. 20 minutes out. Then a new alarm sounded. His long-range sensors had picked up 3 ships emerging from behind a large asteroid. They had been hiding, waiting. "Captain Wells." Rax's voice was urgent now. "The pirates. They're powering up their weapons." Tom checked his ship's status. The radiation storm had drained more power than he'd hoped, but the weapons were still online. He'd never fought in space before, let alone against alien ships. But he hadn't come this far to fail now. "Commander Rax," he said calmly, "tell me everything you know about their ships. What are their weak points?" As Rax began explaining, Tom started powering up the Starweaver's experimental weapons. He was about to become the first human to engage in combat beyond the asteroid belt. The fate of 6 alien lives, and possibly Earth's future, depended on what happened in the next few minutes. The 3 pirate ships looked nothing like Earth vessels. They were sharp and angular, painted in dark purple with glowing lines running along their hulls. Each one was 3 times the size of the Starweaver. "Their shields are strongest at the front," Commander Rax explained quickly. "But their rear sensors have a blind spot. It's why we almost escaped them last time." Tom watched as the pirate ships spread out in an attack formation. His tactical display showed hundreds of small objects floating nearby, chunks of ice and rock from the Kuiper Belt. An idea started forming in his mind. "Mission Control, are you receiving?" Tom called out. General Hayes's voice came back, heavily distorted by distance. "Barely, Starweaver. You're too far out for real-time support. You're on your own." The lead pirate ship fired first. A burst of purple energy shot past the Starweaver's left wing. Tom rolled the ship sideways, diving behind a large ice chunk. "Attention human vessel," a new voice crackled through his radio. It spoke English but sounded artificial, probably a translation computer. "This is Captain Dex of the Stellar Raiders. Leave now and you won't be harmed. This isn't your fight." Tom checked his weapons. The railgun was charged, and both plasma cannons were ready. "Sorry, Captain Dex. These people asked for help, and that's what they're going to get." He pushed the Starweaver's engines to full power, shooting out from behind the ice chunk. The pirates weren't ready for his speed. Tom fired the railgun, sending a hypersonic slug straight through the lead ship's energy shield. It punched a hole in their hull, causing them to spin off course. "Impossible," Dex's voice shouted. "Their weapons are primitive. That's what makes them dangerous," Rax called out. "Human weapons are physical projectiles. Our shields are designed to stop energy weapons." The remaining two pirate ships began firing rapidly, filling space with purple energy bolts. Tom weaved the Starweaver through the barrage, using the debris field like cover. His combat training on Earth had taught him to use the environment to his advantage. He fired both plasma cannons at a nearby ice chunk. The heat turned it instantly to vapor, creating a cloud that confused the pirates' sensors. Through the chaos, Tom lined up another railgun shot, this time hitting the second pirate ship's engine. "How are you doing this?" Dex demanded. "Your ship isn't even properly shielded." Tom smiled as he dove the Starweaver into a spin, avoiding another barrage. "That's the thing about us humans. We're used to working with what we have." The disabled pirate ships were trying to restore power, but Tom wasn't going to give them the chance. He fired his last plasma cannon burst at another ice chunk, creating more sensor-blocking vapor. Then he used the Starweaver's speed to circle behind the last functioning pirate ship. "Commander Rax," he called out. "Remember how you said their rear sensors have a blind spot?" "Yes." "Oh, behind them. They can't track you there." Tom lined up the shot carefully. One railgun slug left. He aimed for the ship's main power core, visible as a glowing spot near their engines. The shot flew true, piercing straight through their defenses. The last pirate ship's lights flickered and died. Captain Dex's voice came through one final time, filled with disbelief. "We were defeated by a primitive." "No," Tom replied, steering the Starweaver toward the stranded alien research vessel. "You were defeated by someone who came to help his neighbors, even if those neighbors are from another star." He looked out at the disabled pirate ships drifting in space. They weren't destroyed. He had deliberately aimed for non-critical systems. They would live, but they wouldn't be following anyone for a while. "Commander Rax," Tom called out, bringing the Starweaver alongside the research vessel. "Let's get your people out of there before these pirates figure out how to restart their engines." As he prepared for the rescue operation, Tom realized something important. Humanity's first space battle had just ended in victory, not through superior technology, but through creativity and the willingness to help others in need. The Starweaver hovered next to the damaged alien research vessel. Through his cockpit window, Tom could see the ship clearly now. It was beautiful, with smooth silver curves that seemed to flow like water. But its power was almost gone, and its hull was starting to ice over in the deep space cold. "Commander Rax," Tom called out, "I need to know exactly how much time we have left." "Life support will fail in 50 minutes, Rax replied. His voice was weaker now. "They must be conserving air. But there's a bigger problem. Our quantum drive is unstable. If it fails completely, the explosion could destroy both ships." Tom studied his sensor readings. The alien ship's power core was giving off strange energy patterns he'd never seen before. But he had seen something similar in his past. "This reminds me of an old reactor accident I once helped with back on Earth," he said, thinking out loud. "Different technology, same problem. The core is overheating because it can't vent properly." The alien's translation computer took a moment to process this. "You've dealt with quantum drives before?" Rax asked, surprised. Tom smiled. "No, but an overheating engine is an overheating engine, no matter where it's from. We need to cool it down before we can move your people." He looked at the debris field around them. Ice. Lots of ice. Another simple solution started forming in his mind. "Your ship's hull," he asked, Can it handle extreme cold? Yes, Rax replied. But our temperature controls are offline. We can't use them to cool the drive. We don't need them, Tom said. He began programming the Starweaver's plasma cannons for a very specific task. On Earth, sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Using the cannons on their lowest power setting, Tom carefully started hurling several large ice chunks toward the alien ship. The heat from the cannons melted the ice slightly, and in the vacuum of space, it instantly refroze around parts of the alien vessel's hull. The temperature around the quantum drive is dropping. One of Rax's crew members called out. How is this possible? Ice has been keeping things cold since before humans learned to make fire, Tom explained. Sometimes old tricks work better than new technology. As the quantum drive stabilized, Tom began planning the rescue itself. The Starweaver wasn't designed to hold 7 people, but it could work for a short trip. My ship's small, he told Rax, but Earth ships are built to handle crowds and emergencies. We'll have to pack in tight, but we can make it work. What about our research data? Rax asked. The quantum drive blueprints. It's too valuable to leave behind. Tom looked at the pirate ships in the distance. They were still dead in space, but their crews would eventually fix their systems. How much data storage space do you need? About 200 zettabytes, Rax replied. Tom laughed. Commander, I've got a 10-year-old phone in my flight suit pocket that can hold that much. We'll download everything important. The aliens fell silent for a moment. Finally, Rax spoke again, his voice filled with wonder. You humans, you solve problems in ways we never considered. No wonder the pirates couldn't beat you. Tom began extending the Starweaver's docking arm toward their airlock. That's because they expected advanced solutions. Sometimes the best answer is the simple one. He looked at his instruments. The ice was keeping the quantum drive stable, and they had enough power left for one controlled transfer. It wouldn't be comfortable, but they could save everyone and the research. All right, Commander, Tom said. Let's get your people ready to move. And welcome to your first lesson in human-style problem-solving. When in doubt, keep it simple. The docking procedure was nothing like the smooth connections Tom had practiced in simulators. The alien airlock was a different shape than anything human engineers had designed. He had to improvise, using the Starweaver's flexible docking collar to create a tight seal. Airlock pressure holding steady, Tom reported, checking his instruments. Commander Rax, are your people ready? Yes, Rax replied. We've downloaded all our research data. But Captain, you should be prepared. We don't look anything like humans. Tom tightened the straps on his flight suit. Commander, I'm more concerned about getting you out alive than what you look like. The airlock cycled open. Tom's helmet lights illuminated the passage between the ships. The first alien researcher stepped through, and Tom understood Rax's warning. They were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors in the light. Their 4 arms moved with careful precision as they navigated the tight space. Welcome aboard, Tom said calmly, helping the first alien secure themselves in the passenger compartment. It'll be cramped, but we'll make it work. One by one, the alien crew members transferred over. They moved quickly and efficiently, following Tom's instructions without question. Their trust in him was clear. They had seen how he handled the pirates. The 5th crew member was halfway through the airlock when alarms started blaring from both ships. The quantum drive. Rax called out from the research vessel. The ice is failing faster than we calculated. We have minutes before it goes critical. Tom looked at his sensors. The pirate ships were showing signs of power returning too. They were running out of time on multiple fronts. Change of plans, Tom said, thinking fast. Commander, you need to jump now. Don't wait for the airlock cycle. But the pressure difference. Rax started to protest. Trust me, Tom interrupted. I'll compensate with the Starweaver systems. Jump on my mark. Tom's fingers flew across the control panel, adjusting the ship's pressure and artificial gravity. He thought back to his emergency training, remembering how to handle rapid pressure changes. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Rax leaped through the connection between ships. Tom immediately fired the emergency containment protocols, catching the alien commander in a bubble of stabilized air before he could be injured by the pressure difference. The moment Rax was secure, Tom disconnected from the research vessel. The quantum drive was beginning to emit pulses of bright energy. "Everyone hold on," Tom called out. "This is going to be rough." He fired the Starweaver's engines at full power, pushing them away from the failing ship. Behind them, the quantum drive finally lost containment. The explosion was like nothing Tom had ever seen, a sphere of pure white energy that warped the space around it. The Starweaver's engines screamed as Tom pushed them beyond their limits. The explosion's shockwave was gaining on them, threatening to tear the ship apart. Diverting all power to engines and rear shields, Tom announced, his voice steady despite the danger. "Commander Rax, I could use some of that alien knowledge right about now." Rax reached forward with two of his arms, pointing at the sensor display. "There. The explosion is creating a gravity wave. If you can ride the edge of it." Tom understood immediately. He adjusted their course slightly, using the massive energy release to their advantage. The Starweaver caught the edge of the shockwave like a surfer catching a wave. The ship shuddered violently, but Tom held it steady. The pirate ships, still trying to restart their systems, disappeared in the explosion's light. When the energy wave finally passed, the Starweaver emerged intact. Inside the cramped cabin, 6 alien scientists and 1 human pilot breathed a collective sigh of relief. "Earth base, this is Starweaver," Tom reported, allowing himself a small smile. "Mission accomplished. Package secured. Coming home." The Starweaver broke through Earth's atmosphere 3 days later, its hull glowing from re-entry. News of the rescue had traveled ahead of them, and the landing strip was crowded with military personnel, scientists, and government officials. Everyone wanted to see humanity's first alien visitors. Tom guided the ship down smoothly, despite having flown for 72 hours straight. The aliens had taken turns helping him stay awake, sharing stories about their worlds and the vast civilization that existed beyond Earth's solar system. As the ship's engines powered down, General Hayes approached with a team of doctors and scientists. They had prepared for this moment, setting up special environmental stations to make sure the aliens would be comfortable in Earth's atmosphere. The Starweaver's door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Tom stepped out first, his flight suit dusty but intact. He saluted the general, then turned to help his passengers. Commander Rax emerged next, his iridescent skin shifting colors in Earth's sunlight. The crowd fell silent, then burst into applause. It wasn't just a historic moment. It was proof that humanity wasn't alone, and that different species could work together. "The air readings are good," one of the doctors announced, checking her instruments. "They can breathe our atmosphere safely." Rax stepped forward, all 4 arms raised in a peaceful gesture. "People of Earth," he said, his translator converting his musical language into clear English, "we come to you with gratitude and gifts." He held out a small device that glowed with soft blue light. "This contains our quantum drive research. With it, humanity can join the interstellar community years ahead of schedule." General Hayes looked surprised. Ahead of schedule. Rax's skin rippled with what Tom had learned was their version of a smile. "We've been watching Earth for some time, waiting for the right moment to make contact. We needed to be sure you were ready." "And are we?" Tom asked, standing beside his alien friend. "Captain Wells." Rax turned to him. "You showed us something remarkable. When we were in danger, you didn't hesitate to help, even though we were strangers. You used simple solutions to solve complex problems. You adapted quickly and thought creatively." The alien scientist gestured to the Starweaver. "This ship, which you call primitive, defeated 3 advanced pirate vessels. Not through superior technology, but through intelligence and skill. That's exactly what the galaxy needs right now." Admiral Porter, who had opposed the rescue mission, stepped forward. "What exactly are you offering?" "A seat at the Interstellar Council," Rax announced. "And more importantly, a chance to help other species. There are many worlds out there struggling with problems that need—" "What did you call it, Captain?" "Simple solutions." Tom nodded, understanding dawning on his face. "You want us to be problem solvers." "Exactly. Your species has a unique way of thinking, of finding answers that more advanced civilizations overlook. We need that perspective." The general turned to Tom. "Well, Captain Wells, you went up there to save 6 lives. Looks like you did a lot more than that." Tom looked at the Starweaver, then at his alien passengers who were now becoming Earth's first extraterrestrial ambassadors. "So what happens next?" Rax held out one of his hands to shake, having learned the human gesture during their journey. "Next, Captain, you help us build a bridge between worlds. We need pilots who can think like you do, who can help us explore and protect the stars." As Tom shook the alien's hand, camera flashes went off all around them. It was a picture that would appear in history books for generations, the moment humanity officially joined the galactic community. "You know," Tom said with a smile, "when I woke up 4 days ago, I never thought I'd end up becoming Earth's first deep space diplomatic pilot." Rax's skin shimmered with colors of joy. "Sometimes, Captain Wells, the simplest rescue mission can change the course of history."